The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the show. This is the West Stand, our new show that's out on a Monday and Friday normally across this season. However, we are flipping the script a little bit this week just because logistics.
For Huddersfield reasons, we'll call it.
Yes, because I need to get home and look after a puppy. This is available on YouTube and in your podcast app. Guests from across the world of Leeds United. My name's Dan Moylan. Hello. With me is Michael Normanton.
Hello.
That's you. NordVPN. Black Friday gone. Cyber Monday gone.
Was the deal gone? Oh, no, you're joking. I've missed it.
No.
I've missed it.
The fun never stops here.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. You can get yourself our exclusive Black Friday Cyber Monday deal from NordVPN. It's continuing now. They've let it run because it's been proving hugely successful, which is good, isn't it? We watched the Blackburn game from the German office, via a German server anyway, thanks to NordVPN. So you can watch sporting events, TV shows, movies that are not available in your region, protect your location as well and your private data, all that kind of business.
But tell me, Dan, is it fast or is it slow?
It's absolutely lightning quick.
Is it the fastest the one there is?
Yeah, very much so.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and there is NordVPN's threat protection feature in there as well. Protects you from viruses, malware, phishing. Do you like phishing?
Never tried it.
Well, you shouldn't because it's naughty.
Okay, good.
NordVPN.com/TSB if you want to get your hands on that. The Black Friday deal has continued, and you get 4 months additional on top of your discounted 2-year plan, risk-free as well. Do you know why that is?
30-day money-back guarantee.
Correct. NordVPN.com/TSB. You'll find the link in the episode description box as well.
Or if you're on YouTube, you can click a button, which
I think you've got to point to the top of the screen.
Lee'll put it on probably.
Yeah.
Up there. I'll point everywhere. Dancing, really.
Thank you, Michael. And now we welcome our guest from Opta, the stat man. It is Jonny Cooper. Welcome back. Hi, Jonny.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you for coming back. You're the stat man. Skibby-dibby-dim, dam-da-dum-dum. Let's talk stats then. First of all, I know there were two bald men in the room, but let's talk expected hair pulling. Did you see that?
I did.
I'm talking Premier League football now. We're branching out here into wider topics, but Cucurella got his hair tugged playfully.
I'd say so.
Was it bordering on sexy for you? Or can't you remember?
It's been a while. It's been quite a while. Truth be told,
It's been many years.
That's not a red card, is it?
No, I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was working last night and I just thought he's just going to not laugh it off, but they'd go to the VAR screen and just say, "Oh, just stop doing that," basically. I remember years ago we played Charlton and they had Gus Poyet's son was playing and he had long hair and Alex Mowat pulled him back by his hair. Wasn't a red card.
It's one of those things
10 years ago.
that they'll go, it's violent because it doesn't fall into any other category. But it's violent conduct.
Sexy conduct.
This is one of, I can't remember what I was moaning about the other week, but there was a red card somewhere. And it was like, well, it's one of those where Custy go, they raised the hands, it's got to be a red card. It hasn't. If it doesn't hurt, and it's not, if there's no harm done, why is it got to be a red card?
Do you want to see hair like blood at the roots of the hair?
Exactly. If he's coming away from Cucurella with a fistful of it, and it's not attached to his head anymore, okay, that's violent. But a little boop, boop, and just like this sort of little tap around the face that you get a red card for. Not a red card. It's fine. If someone lamps someone, fine. Send them off.
Right, but you want to see blood as sort of your baseline for a red card?
Yeah. Stupid. It's a stupid set of rules. They've put themselves in a corner with this. They're going, oh, that's got to be a red card. It hasn't. Just change your mind. If I was reffing, I'd just be like, it's fine.
just let it go. Expected hair pulling, is there a stat for that?
Not yet, but yeah, might have to introduce that. But I mean, that one last night was just a gentle tug.
Good.
I enjoyed it too.
We'll clip that up for socials. Right, so we're here to talk about Leeds United, not about those Premier League chumps. So statistically, what are the numbers showing then? Do you want to just start on Tanaka and do a show about that instead of talking about other things? Because we lost against Blackburn and it made everyone a bit miserable.
We can do if you want. Do you want to start on Tanaka?
I mean, I don't feel like I don't want to shoot my bolt yet. That's all. So should we start? Championship trends, defensive performance, maybe.
Okay. Well, so the last few games I've been not concerned, but we have been giving away better quality chances than we were at the start of the season. So, I mean, when I was at the Luton game, and they seemed to be having better. They didn't have many chances, but the chances that they had were quite good. So, went back and looked at the data, and so in our first 15 games this season, we only conceded 8 big chances in total. So, a big chance is a chance that you should reasonably have scored. It's more sort of opinion-based rather than an algorithm. So if you're watching a game that was a big chance, it'll probably be awarded a big chance by Opta.
I can feel the science oozing out of you, Jonny.
Yeah, really good.
I was actually going to ask how you quantify it. How would you quantify it?
I was going to say I just assumed it was an XG above a certain amount that would count as a big chance.
It could have changed, but I think it basically used to be the analyst watch it and say, I will qualify that as a big chance because I think he should have scored.
Ah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So you think of Bamford in the promotion season, had a lot of those, and I think he missed the most.
To me, like on an emotional bystander level, that makes more sense than someone going, right, it's 0.51 XG, so we'll class that as a big chance, whereas 0.49 is not.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So it's quite easy to understand. So
do we put that down to opponents, or is that just down to a change in the way that we're playing, or is there a pattern to any of this, do you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if it might just be just a blip, but in the last 3 games, we've given away 11 big chances compared to 8 in the first 15. So that's 3 against Swansea, 4 against Luton, 4 against Blackburn, which is 39% of the shots that we faced compared to 8% in the first 15. So it's a big jump.
You wonder if maybe like the Swansea, because it turned into a bit of a madness, whether that acts as a catalyst for it to go a bit loose for a couple of games afterwards.
Maybe so. Or maybe we're feeling the effects of the midfield not being as defensive as before, potentially, because we'll come on to Tanaka, but obviously Ampadu does a lot of defensive work in there, doesn't he, which maybe Rothwell doesn't. So
we've been giving away more big chances, but then this season feels built on defensive performances as much as anything.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I think a lot of people were criticising, or they were saying it was quite boring to watch for the first part of the season. Then since the international break, we've been giving teams chances, and it's made it probably slightly more entertaining. Obviously, the Swansea game was entertaining. Blackburn game wasn't so much. But so it's sort of like, can we get the balance right of entertaining people while not letting the opposition have good chances against us?
I think we've had a bit of an unsettled backline as well, haven't we? Because obviously we've had Bogle and then Firpo out as well, so maybe chopping and changing around that. Although I think Byram has done well, obviously, when he's come in as well, but maybe some of that has had an impact on it as well.
Yeah, you are disrupting a settled unit. I'd never thought about that, so good point, you. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, full of them. What else have you got for us then, Jonny? We've found out that first goal matters. We know that that's the case. I remember seeing one of the stats on TV, presumably one of yours, recently, that when we score first, we win, the end.
Yep. I think under Farke, 33 games we scored first, won 30, drawn 3. Only conceded 10 goals. Again, this season we scored first against Portsmouth and then let 3 goals in. And then since then we've won every game we've scored first by an aggregate score of 21-1.
Right.
Wow. The game was Watford. I think Watford got a goal back. So, I think it's 62 Championship games unbeaten when we scored first, which is the 3rd longest run in Championship history by a team.
Do you think that perhaps explains Farke's approach to a certain extent? That because that first goal is so crucial, you want to make sure you don't give it up wherever possible. Because we've seen this 1,000 times. Like in the recent slightly shambolic performances, when we concede first, you think, we can see how this game's going to go. Like Blackburn, you could see, is the perfect example. Those games that keep coming around every now and again, and you go, this is just not happening. We might as well just go home now.
It's not great that seems to be the outcome regardless of who scored first, though.
Yeah, but scoring first yourself, which we are probably more likely to do because of our attacking prowess and the quality in the squad, does make sense from the other side of the fence.
Mm.
So you get that first goal, you're pretty much going to have the point in the bag, barring something silly happening.
However,
so
it's a lot of the comments after the Blackburn game were, when we go 1-0 down, we know exactly how this game is going to go. We're just going to pass the ball around their box and not score a goal. Basically, that tends to be the criticism. But since the start of last season, we've won the most games when we've gone 1-0 down in the Championship,
right? Which
is 8 out of 27. So it's almost 1 in 3 where we come back and win. So the stats don't necessarily say that when we go 1-0 down, it is just going to be we're going to lose the game. So we do come back.
So that's just my doom and gloom Leedsy head.
It's just human nature, isn't it? When we, it's like anything. We go 1-0 down, we're just passing the ball around. We're not going to score. But actually, when you look back, we do. But in the 8 wins, 6 of those we scored in the first half.
Right.
So we've come back into it quite quickly.
I was going to say that it feels like when we come back into it, like I'm thinking of the Middlesbrough game last season at home where we were down in that, but then we score quickly and it kind of restores a bit of balance to a game.
It swings the momentum, doesn't it?
It feels like if a team can hold us off for half an hour, that's when you get that feeling of like, oh no, this is happening again.
I think there is definitely something in that. Definitely.
And while we're talking about passing it around, passes and possession is one of the hallmarks of this team, perhaps to a fault.
Yes, yep. So we are top for passes, unsurprisingly, in the Championship, top for average possession as well. I was looking at where we were having our passes because, again, it does sometimes feel like Rodon and Strike, which I'll come on to, passing the ball to each other a lot. So exactly 50% of our passes have been in our own half this season. So if you look at the top 5 teams for passes, so you've got Norwich, who are second, but 66% of their passes have been in their own half. So they're keeping the ball, but they're keeping the ball in their own, in their own third. And then Middlesbrough in third, 47.5%. So they're very similar to Leeds. So that game should be quite entertaining next midweek, I expect. Hull 61%, Swansea 59%. So we are 50-50, which is way above the average.
I find it quite interesting the amount of passes and the way teams now play in the Championship, that it used to be that you'd get a few good teams who would attempt to do the keeping the ball, passing it loads thing. But now you see from us at the top down to Hull, who are having a terrible season, there's an attempt to do that throughout. There's almost no, I guess there's no sort of different application of methods, it feels like sometimes, depending on your team. Like Neil Warnock comes in at Hull, he'd have them, well, I mean, he's the opposite. He'd just have them banging it along regardless. If he was at Man City, he'd have them banging it along. But it's, it feels like it used to be a thing that good teams tried to do, whereas now everyone's having a go.
Well, I mean, the perfect example, we'd mentioned Southampton. I mean, they've lost 11 out of 14 in the Premier League. And last night, the Chelsea game, watched it and they were, passing it. One of the goals was the goalkeeper passed it out from the back and just give it away. And they keep
doing that, don't they?
Yeah,
well? It's becoming a hallmark of their style. And refusing to bend it's a bizarre hill to die on, isn't it? Almost like how important staying up is from a financial perspective, but maybe they just accepted. I mean, why did they even bother beating us at Wembley?
On my birthday as well.
On your birthday, you could just throw the game, let us go up. We'll take on the struggle for you.
We'd have been miserable instead.
But we'd have still had Jorginho.
Probably, yeah. Might not have had Farke.
And Archie Gray.
Yeah, that's true.
So
what do they get to keep? Will Smallbone. Congratulations.
Grow up. I
mean, Southampton's defence last night was, I think they had Joe Lumley in goal, who used to play for QPR, Ryan Manning, QPR, Nathan Wood, who was at Swansea. I think there's another guy. It's a very Championship defence. Mm-hmm. So playing like that in the Championship is okay, but I think the Premier League, you're going to get found out. You've got to kind of respect that he's still playing the same way as...
Nah.
Yeah.
I don't. It does seem stupid, but if you apply the example as Michael just flagged it up then, it's almost like there's no quality control where someone's going, do you know what, maybe I don't have the players here to play this type of football. I think we clearly do. And even then, you can see the margins at Leeds are quite fine because often, well, in the Gruev Ampadu midfield, it felt like we didn't necessarily have the attacking sort of progressive ability there to pass through the lines, where I think with Rothwell and Tanaka you do. But lower down the league, we've seen it with teams who've come to Ellen Road and attempted to pass but not really do anything with it. Well, what are you even setting out to achieve here?
Yeah.
What's the end goal here?
Well, that's quite interesting you say that, because I was looking at the bottom. The two teams who have completed 5,000 fewer passes than we have this season are Portsmouth and Millwall, and they've taken 4 points off us. So.
Right. So actually, coming up against the slightly more industrial style.
I think Derby are third bottom as well for that passes. So obviously playing them Saturday, so that
could be more difficult than...
Yeah, they'll probably sit in. They're not going to be keeping all the ball.
Derby good at set pieces as well, aren't they? I saw a stat this week.
Oh, God.
As were Millwall.
Because we lost the last game and everyone's just a little bit down on it. They're just going to pump balls into the box. And now we'll beat them.
The other stat...
We'll beat them, won't we? We'll beat them?
Of course. Well, I'm confident. Home form's great.
Good.
Yeah. And the other stat is we've won 11 of our last 13 Championship games when we've had fewer than 50% possession. So when we let the other team have the ball, we are actually very good.
So what is it we're good at then in terms of that? Is that attacking transition?
I think so, yeah.
Hitting on the break, that sort of thing, is it?
Or is it game state that we get in a lead and then they inevitably have a more possession? And that wouldn't have been the case if it was 0-0.
Make him answer, because he knows more about football than we do.
Tell me, Johnny.
We do have game state, and I wish I'd have looked that up before I came in.
Look at me. Game state.
Really? That's really... That's
something I read online once, isn't it?
Does that just mean what score it is?
Yes, it does.
Right.
Yeah, it does. That's basically what it means.
It's fancy language. Yep. Yeah, so the home form, I know people have been a bit concerned about the away form, but the home form is fairly instrumental in what we're doing.
Yep, we've not trailed by more than a goal in any of our last 32 home Championship games since the Cardiff game opening day of last season. So there's not been any game really where we've gone, shit, we're 2 down now and we're going to struggle to get back into it. We've always been in the game. So, positive.
Keep doing that. Do we need to talk about Tanaka now? Has that been long enough?
Yeah, go on. You've had nearly 15 minutes you've lasted.
But you say that. Jonny is just as prone to tweeting out stuff about Tanaka as I am thinking about it.
Yeah, I must admit that's probably the most thing. There's a Spotify Wrapped that comes out. Yeah, if my Twitter Wrapped, it'd just be like Tanaka at the top. I
just got my Spotify Wrapped because it's in the car, and when my kids go out with my wife, it's attached to. I think it must be when I'm in the car because otherwise it won't work without my phone. But either way, got loads of show tunes on there.
You're trying to blame other people for your show tunes.
So it's like my number one song for the year was Marching On Together, funnily enough. I'm in the top, I think it was the top 0.05% worldwide for listening to Marching On Together. Because I listen to it all the time when I'm driving in here, like for games. So that's my badge of honour. There was, I think Oasis were near the top in terms of top artists, but then it's all stuff from the Broadway musical Hamilton.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
give us a rendition of one. I don't know when.
No.
No? Okay. I'll look him up on Spotify.
But sorry, yes, Tanaka.
Tanaka, yeah. So since the start of October, he's the only player in the top 4 tiers of English football to complete 500 passes, win possession of the ball 50 times, and make 30 tackles.
Right.
So he's doing everything. I think that's the most impressive thing, was not just the fact that he's great on the ball, great when great control, he's going to keep it, but he actually wins the ball back a lot. And he's got great balance as well, knowing when to intercept.
Yeah, that was a pleasant surprise, I think, because he sat deeper when he's been playing and Rothwell's tended to push a bit further forward. You almost see Tanaka dropping in between the centre-backs. He's often deeper than them when he's on the field. But to see him tracking back in midfield as well and making those tackles and blocks, that was not something I necessarily expected from him, because I'd seen him as a sort of a silky passer, just linking up and short passes and move and always finding a yard, but then suddenly he puts his foot in and it's a really well-timed tackle.
He weirdly reminds me a bit of Rio Ferdinand defensively. Insofar as he just seems to know he knows when to get in front of someone to get the ball. I can't, because he never seems to do a big tackle, but he times it incredibly well for when he moves forward and gets the ball off people.
Is that maybe an example of first yard being in your head, as we've joked about before? He just knows where to be.
Because I don't think he ever goes to ground, does he?
No.
He's a very upright footballer the whole time.
I suppose it's to sort of extend the example. You see centre halves sometimes who will get caught the wrong side of the attacker, and that's all to do with body shape and positioning. And I suppose it's the same thing, but on the other side of the coin, he just knows where to put himself.
Yeah,
got the brain.
Yeah, top for successful passes per 90 minutes by a midfielder on record for Leeds.
Right,
in a season.
Wow,
74. Then you've got Gruev and Rothwell, who were second and third this season. Glenn Kamara last season. Adam Forshaw 2018-19. I actually had a look at. So when I put the stats on Twitter, it says since 2013-14, but that's because since that season. But I think people think somebody did it in that season. But I had a look at the players that season, and who do you think was top for successful passes per 90 minutes in 2013-14?
2013-14.
That feels like that's the before times.
It's very much the before times.
Sad times?
Is it like Michael Tong or something?
Correct, Michael Tong, yes.
Good guess.
Wow, there you go.
38. Compare that with Tanaka's 74. I mean, it's like a completely different game, basically.
Yeah.
Paul Green, 37. Rudy Austin only had 29 per 90 minutes. Luke Murphy, 24.
You don't happen to have any Calvin Phillips stats, do you, Andy? So I've been watching Tanaka. I've been thinking, is he better than Calvin was?
Do you know what? I was looking actually, most tackles per 90 minutes since Adam Forshaw 2018-19, and then before that, Calvin Phillips was making 3 tackles. Tanaka's 2.9 this season.
Wow.
So it is very similar.
Yeah, I think he probably is. I think in terms of potential and ceiling, he just passes the eye test, doesn't he? I think that's the most important thing. You look at him and go, he oozes quality.
Shouldn't say this really, but why is he in the Championship?
Don't say
Don't understand it. Don't understand.
Well, he won't.
It's because he loves Leeds.
I think one way or another he won't be, Jonny. And let's take that as an optimistic prediction of us getting out of this division.
Very true.
This season.
It's reassuring to know we've got the kind of fallback big summer sale, though, isn't it? Because it's like someone would definitely drop 30 million on him next year.
I want more.
Well,
70 million.
Fine.
But we'll keep him. We'll keep him instead.
Okay.
The other passing stat, Stroik and Rowe, I don't think I mentioned it last time, but they are the most passes between a duo in the Championship. Can you guess how many passes they've played to each other this season?
749.
How many games in are we?
18.
This is going to involve maths, isn't it? I can't really do this. I'll go for one more than whatever Dan said.
It's like Bruce Forsyth on
higher or lower?
666. The devil number. Yeah. So it's a lot. So yeah, if it does seem like they are passing the ball to each other a lot, it's true. But they are actually our first central defensive partnership to have started every game at this stage of the season since who? It's this century, and they were really good for about half a season.
Richard Naylor.
I was thinking Naylor, Kisnorbo.
It's a good shout.
But
It's not those two. That's a really good shout.
when you said this century, makes me think it's longer ago.
Slightly longer than Richard Naylor, but not much.
Radabay and Woodgate.
No, a bit more recent.
Gregan and Butler.
Should I tell you?
Go on.
Matt Heath and Rui Marquez. 07,
Wow.
08.
On the tip of my tongue.
Got a bit of everything there, haven't you? Well, apart from a good footballer.
Well, Rui Marquez was like linked with Sunderland, I think, in January, and then he went to the African Cup of Nations and just seemed to tail off a little bit. And by the end of the season, we had Michalik and Huntington at centre half.
God, it was weird. Was Marquez? We had him for ages, didn't play him. Then he looked really good for a bit, and then he was gone as soon as he'd arrived.
Yeah, we barely even knew you.
Whereas Matt Heath, good from set pieces,
still our last scorer from a corner, and so on and so forth.
I believe so.
I took great comfort actually in you telling us that last time, that we are better from set pieces and corners than maybe we imagine we are.
Yeah, it was 25% of the last 300 goals, wasn't it? Yeah. And then we scored another from a corner recently, didn't we?
Yeah.
Again.
I think we keep doing it.
There might have been two since then, but it's basically Pascal Strauch.
Yeah.
If he's in the box, there's a fair chance something's occurring from it, whether or not it's going straight in or he's creating a save, which then leads to someone else scoring. But with him out of the team, it seems almost pointless.
Yeah. Well, weirdly, I was looking, I thought Strike's definitely got to be the player who wins the most first contacts, the new phrase. But actually, Joe Rodon's top for that in corners.
He heads it out.
He's never going to score a goal.
He heads it out.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
I've seen it at least twice with my eyes this season. It's gone up something. You're going, go on, Joe. Yeah. Oh, you've headed it backwards.
Liam Cooper was always very good at winning the headers. My instinct was he put headers over quite a lot when he did win them, whereas Rodon doesn't even come close to that. They're not even aimed at goal, are they? They're just
he does that really irritating thing where it'll come in and he'll just miss it, and he'll do it, and he'll go, oh, so close to getting that. Every game, every single game is the same thing. Like, just win the header and score a goal.
That I've nearly done something is Joe Rodon's default face, though, isn't it? It's just that's like confusion and upset.
Yeah, I was going to say confused, mildly put out. I'm not sure what it is.
Well, he upset the Blackburn fans, didn't he, with his comments?
Yeah. What did you make of that from an Opta stats point of view? Him saying that. Do you know what he was getting at?
Yeah, I understand what he was getting at. I think it was probably a culmination of not just the Blackburn game, probably a few games where it kind of feels like we've got a lot of the ball. I think we had 76% of the ball in that Blackburn game, which was pretty high, even for Leeds. So he probably just felt we're passing the ball and getting nowhere. Yeah,
because they defended a bit higher up the pitch rather than camping on the edge of their own area, mid block rather than low block, if you want to use the fancy terms. And I think he was probably referring to more the low block teams just sitting in at the edge. But I don't imagine they're trying to blind him with that sort of science. The training ground, just get in there and edit or tackle it, Joe, and give it to someone better than you.
I think his comments were based on a vibe of like, why does this keep happening?
Yeah, basically,
which is essentially the feeling that we've all had. But I mean, Blackburn, I think they probably deserved that win. There was the chance that was gifted to Nonto was our biggest chance.
But we didn't disallow goal, did we?
Yeah,
offside. Yeah.
Bamford offside. It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Oh, he's third offsides per 90 minutes this season. Bamford. He's barely played, but he's still well up there. Something like 2.3 offsides per 90.
A real feather in his cap, that one.
Comes on, he's offside and he barges defence in the back and gives away free kicks when it becomes at a stage of the game where I'm very frustrated at us giving away free kicks.
Was it the Blackburn game where he had the shot from outside the box towards the end?
Yeah.
It just
about
dribbled past the
35 yards out.
Yeah, just a wild swinging frustration.
Mind you, he has won FSA goal of the year.
Yeah, but what do those guys know? They didn't pick us as fanzine of the year, did they?
I think it was a public vote, the goal.
The goal one was. Right.
So just to show the public, no. But for that panel, useless.
Well, Opta Joe won a FSA award last year. I think you tweeted me. A friend went to pick it up and we didn't even get nominated this year.
All right.
Footy Scran got nominated, but we didn't.
Right. Does that feel like a kick in the teeth?
Disappointing, yeah. Just couldn't at least retain our award.
Are we going to boycott it next year after that?
Yeah, let's say yes.
If we don't get shortlisted, we're boycotting it this year.
That's why we're not on it.
Anyway, back to business. And we talked about how Tanaka. I was going to say Dan James is proving crucial this year as well, if we're going to be positive rather than worrying about Pat's offsides.
Absolutely. Well, Dan James has a great record, or we have a great record when Dan James scores. So we've won the last 15 games when Dan James has scored, which is the longest run since Alan Smith.
I was thinking Alan Smith, you know. I remember that being a thing.
Yeah.
So, does this mean we need to go 1-0 up through Dan James and we win every time?
Basically.
That's the formula.
Yeah.
Get Farker told.
It's weird they're talking about Smith. I don't know, did you used to have the old season reviews on the on VHS?
Yeah.
And I'm sure the commentators, whenever he used to score, used to always say, when he scores, Leeds win, or Leeds go on to win. And that always stuck in my head. And then it's weird when you're looking to start up and then it comes back and then that weirdly comes back to you. Yeah. That's the longest in our entire history. Alan Smith won 21 games in a row when he scored. And the team that ended that was Real Madrid. So don't know if Real Madrid are going to end Dan James's run.
Was that was the away game as well where they cheated?
It was, and he was about 5 yards offside. To be fair.
Listen.
Sorry about that.
That was a.
We want the Raul handball ruling out,
correct,
but not the Smith offside.
Yeah,
and VAR would have ruled them both out. So I think morally we won that game and the Champions League.
Wasn't there a Valencia handball as well?
There was
in the semi-final. Yeah, we got done over badly there.
And the suspended boy. Anyway, listen, we're not bitter about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we're still carrying grudges from decades, many, many decades ago, is it?
No.
Not like us as a football club whatsoever.
Yeah. The other one about Dan James, 89% win ratio when he scores, which is the third best in our history. So we had a guy called Joe Firth in the 1930s, won 95% of his games, 19 out of 20. And Tony Yeboah, 19 out of 21. Let's get Tony Yeboah in there.
Yeah, what a player, what a footballer.
Yeah.
So Dan James, Tanaka. Any other individuals we need to give a quick nod to?
I suppose we give a shout out to Farker and his win percentage at Ellen Road, which is the best of any manager in our history in league games. 72%, won 23 out of 32.
Right.
And he's got the best goals per game at Ellen Road since Don Revie as well.
So is it more exciting than perhaps people think?
Yeah. Well,
maybe. I feel like my slight middle ground on Daniel Farker sometimes upsets people because I think he's probably all right for this level, but has some fairly major limitations. But people seem to either want him.
Yeah, but what's the point? What's the point of having a nuanced opinion?
People either want loads of praise for him or to say he's completely shit.
I was going to say,
anyone could get this team playing like this.
We're well outside the era of nuance or balance, aren't we? So give it a hot take.
All right, I think he's a war criminal.
Right.
That's what Arsenal fans were saying about Arteta what time was.
So you might as well go in with both feet.
With that. A terrorist, I think they called Arteta as well at one point.
Yeah.
So yeah, somewhere around that.
Right, wow.
That sort of ballpark, I'd say.
Wow, hot take from Normanton.
Oh, he's fine though, actually. That's more in the Premier League. For the Championship, he's just fine.
Right.
Yeah, he's all right.
I'll just nuance that opinion. He's got the second best points per game ratio at a single club in Championship history as well. If you can name the manager who's got the best, so Farker's got averaging 1.95 points per game at Leeds, so it's slightly under his 2 points per game that he talks about. And there's a manager who's got 1.96 points per game.
Chris Wilder.
It's not, but you got the right club.
Ooh, no,
surely not Eke.
Eke.
Give over.
1.96 points per game at Sheffield United. Yeah, the top three are all the last three managers managed in the Championship. So Bielsa's the third as well.
Wow, right.
Surprising.
I suppose that shows that the Championship is polarising a bit.
Yeah,
and the
coming down is
the parachute payments are distorting it.
Yeah,
a big head start. Or that Hecky is a generational talent and we missed out.
Well, we'll find out on Boxing Day, won't we?
I mean, Preston's league position suggests he's not that good.
Yeah, but he's got bad tools to work with there.
That is true. Nice bus station, though.
It's a very good bus station. Anything else to add on bus stations, Johnny?
No, on bus stations. I'm not a big fan of the bus. I'm more of a train man.
Yeah. Leeds bus station is absolute dog shit. I think we can all agree on that.
Right.
Terrible place.
Yeah.
Terrible building. Bad bit of town. Although it's got John Lewis down there now.
It's got Duck and Drake down there. Great pub.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah,
You're not shopping in John Lewis.
I know, for other people. It's nowhere near Home Bargains. Yeah.
Well, it's not bus related, but one of the trends in the Championship, obviously our away form's not been great, but this season is the lowest percentage of away wins in a Championship season ever. So 23.8% of games have been won by the away team. It's actually the lowest in the second tier since 94-95.
So that's the whole division?
Whole division, yeah.
Oh,
so everybody's struggling.
Right.
Yeah. So last season, the away win percentage was 32%, so it's dropped by about 8-9% this year.
I wonder is that a quirk of the fixtures? Has something changed? Is it down to style? Who knows?
Yeah. The other one was clean sheets as well. So 4 teams have got 10 or more clean sheets in the Championship this season. So after 18 games in a second-tier season, the most that I've ever had that before has been 2 teams. And this season, 4 teams have got that. So again, we're in another anomaly of a season like last year.
But just not quite in the same way.
Not in the same way. It's just...
defensive solidity.
Defensive, yeah. Not that many goals.
So the first goal counts, as we were saying.
There you go. Yep.
Look at that.
Bang.
Piecing it together now. It's like all the lines, I can see them. Substitutions is something you wanted to touch on.
Absolutely, yeah.
We've got a lot of strength and depth off the bench when we're fully fit.
Yeah.
And substitutions, they seem to have been a lot more effective this season than perhaps they were last season.
Yeah. I think it's the most goals at this stage of a league season by subs ever by Leeds. I think it's 8 or 9 goals after 18 league games. Obviously, the subs weren't introduced until the mid-60s and you couldn't make many, but this season they are being effective. The other thing that I was looking at was the timings of the sub. So that is definitely...
68 to 72 minutes.
Yeah, funnily enough, I was looking at substitutions made between the 65th and 75th minute.
Why are we looking at that, Johnny?
That's
strange,
all of them.
Yeah, and Leeds are top for the most subs in that time frame. So we made 30 subs between that point, and we've not made a single half-time sub this season.
Right.
Every first half sub has been made for an injury, which is Ampadu, Gruev and Ramazani.
Although I do feel like other teams would make more changes in that period if they had more on the bench. We're in a very fortunate position that we can look across at the bench and go, oh, there's 3 or 4 good players here that we can bring on. Whereas in Leeds teams of old, even to go to the Bielsa era, sometimes you look at the bench and you go, is this the game for Stuart McKinstry to change? Maybe not. Let's just stick with what we've got.
Let's roll the dice.
Exactly.
No, that is fascinating, isn't it? And if there's one question I would love to ask Farker, it would probably be about that.
Yeah. Why are you not making the sub?
What? No, or to frame it the other way, what is it about the 70-minute mark? Is there something in the data, for example, or performance data that you see about the effectiveness of... So what is the thing that's driving the 70-minute mark in your mind as the time to change a game? Because there are times when you're imploring him to make a sub a little bit early when it's not quite working, but then he'll do it at 70 minutes and we might score and you go, maybe you know more than me.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Obviously, we don't see what goes on at the training ground all week, so he might be speaking to the players and saying, look, 70 minutes, if it's 0-0 or we're losing, I'm going to chuck you on. And he'll tell the player who's starting the game, you've got until this amount of time, or I'm going to hook you off.
Yeah.
Whereas, obviously, again, we always hark back to our former Argentinian manager, but, he hooked off Phillips a couple of times in the first half when it wasn't working and would just change it, but that's not Farker's style, clearly.
But he does there is a similar sort of dogma about Plan A and making Plan A work better.
Yep.
Which you wonder if that kind of informs the subs or lack of them before 70 minutes. But he believes in his system, which I suppose you've got to credit him with, even if it's frustrating to watch sometimes.
I think the striker issue is another one that seems to be plaguing him as well. That no one's ever happy with who's up front.
Yeah.
You put Josephine, he's a bit wild in front of goal. He's missed that chance. He's not much of a cool head. Then Pirro comes in. He doesn't do anything.
But he's got a very cool head.
But then he does score. So
difficult. Pirro is I find him a very difficult player to balance because in front of goal he's an unbelievable finisher and our best finisher by a mile. But then his all-round game it's tough to watch when it's not going well.
He's an old-fashioned poacher.
Yeah,
which feels like it's going out of fashion now. Because I remember when it was when Ali Maxwell was on from Not the Top 20, wasn't it? I think he was saying that there is almost like an archetype for the Championship centre forward now, which is sort of a big, not absolutely massive, but a big lad up front who's muscular and does a lot of, I suppose, donkey work in the sense of physical work, putting yourself around, retaining possession, linking play. And Pirro's not that. He's more of an old-fashioned poacher. I could imagine him quite easily getting into the Premier League and scoring 10 goals from the bench.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's got a Leeds record for the most sub-goals in a year. He's got 6 goals this year off the bench. So it's one of the things where he's probably is better coming off the bench and just, when a team's tired, just tapping one in.
Just finding that half a yard or whatever.
It feels like we've not been happy with a striker in a very, very long time.
But you can't get a complete striker at this level, can you?
It was Bamford, but people wanted Nketiah to play, and they wanted Tyler Roberts to play, and then we signed Rodrigo, and Bamford came back in, and people wanted someone else to play, and Pirro came in, and Bamford ended up back in, and then Joseph came to the fore, and then Bamford ended up back in at times, and it's just like, at what point is Bamford enough? It doesn't feel like it's now.
I just don't think there is a complete striker at this level. You just don't get them. And if you get them, you keep them for a very short time and they end up in the Premier League.
Yeah. You look at the players who've got 30 goals in the Championship season. I think you've got Mitrovic, did it a couple of times. I think Ivan Toney. Chris Wood came close with Leeds. He's probably the last. He was, that one season where he was unbelievable. But even then, people said he wouldn't be able to fit into a fast passing team and link in the play because he's just great in front of goal. And then he's got 70-odd Premier League goals since then. So.
Yeah, and even then, he never felt that good in front of goal,
No.
which is the mad thing. But good on him, I suppose.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up then. But before we do wrap it up, we'll talk about the upcoming FA Cup game as well. You got a little bit of stuff on Harrogate.
Yeah. Well, since 2001-2, that was our 40th FA Cup draw, and it was only the 7th we've been drawn at home.
Really?
Since 2001. That's quite mad, really, to think about.
Surprised we've had that many FA Cup games.
Yeah. Arsenal, Northampton, Birmingham, Spurs, Rotherham, Plymouth. Good list of places there. And we're unbeaten in our last 10 games against teams whose name starts with H.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's Farker will be.
Yeah, be thinking about that before the game.
They'll be delivering that one in the dressing room.
Harrogate will be the first team we've played for the first time in a competitive game since Crawley, who we lost 3-0 to, and they bought a reality TV star.
That was quite something, wasn't it? I often feel a bit sorry for Farker in terms of what he's trying to set out to achieve. And, some of it he does bring on himself, I suppose, by the style. But imagine if he'd lost 3-0 to Crawley in an FA Cup tie. Imagine what the backlash would be like against that.
Yeah. I was thinking that when I looked up, I thought if that happened to Farker, that he probably wouldn't come back from that, I don't think.
No.
That's actually funny because I think, talking about substitutions, I'm sure Bielsa had them all lined up that day. I think he made 3 at half-time and just went, right, come off and we're off, basically.
Just absolutely no interest in,
Not bothered at all.
In the whole thing. Thank you for coming in, Johnny. Always appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Some good insights into the world of Leeds United, and let's get back together again soon-ish, and we'll see how we're getting on with the old promotion push, which will obviously we'll be topped by then again.
Yeah, easy, no problem.
Cheers, Johnny. Right, and a quick mention for pub beers.
Christmas beers, I think is what you meant to say. Yes, at the Griffin in Leeds.
Yep.
After the Derby game.
Yep.
At about.
We reckon about 5:30.
Yeah,
we'll be there.
We're recording some stuff before, aren't we? Here,
but we need to come back, do the match ball. I think we're going to record with Berren Cross as well at that point, and then we'll go for beers with you. Hopefully, if you're about,
I may buy you one. Who knows?
Yeah, and that sounds like a promise. I think
it's not a promise, though, is it?
It's a contractual agreement. We'll see you down at the Griffin Saturday night at about 5:30. We reckon, something like that. And hopefully we'll see you there with us. If you can't make it, next time you're in Leeds, we'll meet up maybe. I'll go for a drink.
Could do, yeah.
Yeah, come to the Griffin. Good stuff. Cheers, Johnny. Right, we'll catch you later. See you soon.
The Square Ball Podcast.